Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. How are you doing this morning? I'm gonna give you guys just a few minutes to get some people coming in. We can start off the critique. It is the first episode of 2021. I know probably the question that a lot of people are going to be asking is, where's the best and worst of 2020 video? And I'm working on that. So just no worries. Probably in the next couple of days, definitely by the end of the week, I'll have you guys out that best and worst of 2020 video. So look forward to that. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at some works by my wonderful Patreon supporters. So again, if you guys would like to submit anything for future work in future work in progress, future Gunpla critique videos, can check out, of course, my Patreon page. Just trying to get, let's see, I had a problem opening some photos here. So let me see. And here we go. Get these photos open up for you guys. Okay, cool. All right. Andy, if you're watching, I got it. All right. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at some photos here from, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bros today. And also, hope you guys all had a happy new year, of course. This is not the first time that I'm talking to you live since the new year. It's the first time, I think this is the first live stream. Yeah, it is. First live stream here on my channel since the new year. So hopefully you guys all had a nice new year. We did do a live stream last week on the USA Gundam TV channel, Adam and I. So check that one out. When we gave away P Bandai Master Grade Stray Kit, so that was pretty fun as well too. Let's see. Ramiro, how savage will you be today? Probably not that savage. You know, I don't like. You know, I always try to give constructive criticism. I'm not like. This is not a. It's not a Gunpla roast, which is something that I still want to do, by the way. So we'll probably have to get around to doing that here pretty soon. But today is a critique, which is supposed to be constructive. So we're taking a look here at Clifford's work in progress first. Basically, just to share with you guys what he let me know about this project is that he wanted to create this, of course, classic scene from 8th MS team, and that he sent a couple of work in progress photos. Everything was painted with Vallejo products. So it's Vallejo, it's acrylic paint and oil paints. So I did like the weathering and some like oil rendering and stuff to make everything look more realistic, of course. So these would be using the HGUC kits. It's all in 1/44 scale, by the way. So here is the last image that he sent. This is the only one that we have, the only image that he sent of like the full diorama, but you can see it does look pretty nice. The buildings look pretty nice as well too. I mean, they're simple, but they look pretty good. Nice, yeah. And I'm not sure, I'd have to pull up like an actual like a still or the scene from the anime to know how accurate these are to the anime. But just, I mean, just as a guess, I assume that these are modeled similarly to like the surrounding buildings actually from the scene, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I like he's got the light posts here with the LEDs in there. So I'm guessing that's like something that you can buy like for rail dioramas or something like that, which are usually, I think, in like the scale is a little bit different, but it's pretty close to 1/44 scale. So I think a lot of times that stuff is usable for HG dioramas. But those are nice, yeah. So that's pretty cool. So the scene itself, nice. I would like to see the sword actually going into the gun tank. You know, that would take like having to actually like partially destroy the model or whatever, modifying it in a way that it actually is being destroyed. But with the goof like standing on it there. So I mean, as it is, it kind of has I mean, it's kind of hard to see in this photo for one, is because it's kind of dark, which does look nice for the photo's sake, for being able to see it clearly. I can't see it that clearly because it's dark, but it does have a bit of that look like it's a model standing on top of another model, because there's no actual connection between the two. I think having the sword actually in that will help sell the look of it being like actually destroyed by the goof there. But let's take a look at some of these other photos here. We can see the models in a bit more detail. First of all, like the chipping and the colors of the chipping does look quite nice. He's done that kind of thing that I don't see done always. Of course, you see it sometimes, but where the chipping is not done like in typical kind of chipping colors of like gray, black, silver, these colors like that, but done them in like alternate colors of like the color of armor. So you can see it's like blue chipping on there. So as if like the original model or the original armor or whatever was in like kind of the standard goof blue and it was painted to this lighter blue. And so you can see the paint kind of chipping away in some bits. That type of look. It's just a little bit different than sometimes other ones. So I do like that about the chipping. That looks pretty cool. The oil work on it does look pretty nice. You got the nice kind of color tones there in the oil work on it. Maybe see if you can see that maybe in some of these other photos. You can probably see a little better like this streaking here. As far as I can tell, I think that's what he's done with oils there. He's modified the gun tank here, obviously adding this panel on the side, which does look pretty cool. The cutout parts here at the bit look not quite even. You know, it's not that noticeable, but you can tell that they're not quite exactly even. So it does look added on there. And I mean, that could be the look that you're going for to make it look like, you know, you could model it in a way that makes it look like it's just kind of extra armor slapped on there, like in the heat of war, you know. But if you wanted to go that way with it, I would say do like up it a little bit more, like add some panel lines in here to separate this. Is something that you could do to just make it look like it's just like random bits of armor just like slapped on there. With it being one big piece, that makes it look like it's a piece that's specifically made for this gun tank like that. In which case, I think it would look a little bit better if these were exactly right. I mean, they're very close, but you can tell they're not quite right. But here again, the chipping on there does look really quite nice, and the oil work looks pretty good as well on there too. I do like that. He's modified, obviously, the head. I don't remember. Sorry. I don't remember the head of the gun tank. Anyway, the gun tanks in general from 8th MS team, I don't remember them being that different, but it could just be my memory. I mean, they're only shown for a few seconds, so maybe they were that different from the original gun tank. He's modified. I guess I should just pull up an image from that scene so I can refresh my memory. Not that it really matters too much as far as the models go, but I'm just curious. Let's see. 8th MS team, goof. Tank. Should pull up something here. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. It is different, isn't it? Huh. I never really realized that the gun tank in 8th MS team is different from a standard gun tank. Oh yeah. The head's different, the backpack's different, the panel on the side is different. Well, yeah. Okay. So very cool. So he modified it quite a bit to look more like the 8th MS team version of the gun tank. So very cool. So that's nice. So modify the head, the backpack here as well too. It's got this big old bit there, which you can see it's got the extra little armor panels, mixed armor panel to make armor added on there. And yeah, just the color variation there of the oil work is definitely very nice. So I like that. Going back to some other pictures of the goof here. That all looks pretty good. I like these bits added onto the back skirt. I'm guessing are meant to look like kind of extra ammo cartridges, which I do, if I remember correctly, I do remember there was a bit in the anime where he changes the ammo pack on the Gatling gun, right? So those added on there are cool. They look a bit odd though because they look very big and bulky, which would be fine if they had the same kind of one here on the gun, but I guess, yeah, there you can see it's up inside there. So if it's roughly the same size, it's kind of hard to tell. If it's like the same size, then yeah, it makes sense. But as far as I can remember, these look larger than what's actually up in there, but yeah, it could be not the case. It could be that it's the exact same size, in which case then cool. But either way, yeah, I like having those extra ammo containers there on the back skirt to be able to switch out there. It's on the top of the gun. It's kind of hard to see these pictures because it's hidden underneath the shield, But you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've all have seen the scene. If you guys have never seen this episode of 8th MS Team, at least just watch this episode. Watch all of 8th MS Team, honestly. But if you think you can't spare the time, you just want the TLDR version, just watch that one episode. That's all you need to see. But let me see here. Going back to the pictures of the goof. Looking at this photo here, you can see a little bit of where the weathering is not covered here on the back side of the elbow. So I'm guessing what the case was that he had the kit and he was doing all his weathering and everything, and then went to pose the kit, and how he had the arm whilst he was doing the weathering, but the arm was straight. So then when he bent the arm to do the pose, it exposed this part of the inside of the elbow there that didn't get any weathering on it. So that's sticking out a bit there. And also I noticed here on the back of the foot, you got a little nub mark and mold line there that was not quite sanded away enough as well too. It's on the back of the foot. So, not many people really ever going to see that, especially once you got into this diorama here. So, if no one's going to see it, then it's not really that big of a deal. But just as a side note, to just, it's there. You can see it in this photo anyway. So there's that. But yeah, as far as the diorama itself goes, I think, it looks cool with the buildings and everything, with the street lights, having it as a night scene. I would say go ahead and just stick that sword in there. I know it kind of seems a bit of a shame to destroy this, head that you just scratch built for this, but if you're gonna go for the scene, I say go all the way. But yeah, it's like the weathering on it looks very nice. The painting looks good. There was the mist bit there on the inside of the elbows. Yeah, it happens. But I'm sure you can just throw a little bit of oil paint on there, and you can make that match pretty easily. I would say even after the whole thing's already done. This piping is also replaced. I'll also make a note of that. You replaced the piping on there, which does look pretty good as well too. It looks like, I can't tell if that's like it's a copper wire or what that is inside of there. It's kind of hard to tell. Not easier to tell in any of the other photos. We kept the original piping here on the head from the HG kit. So maybe it would have been cool to use like a little bit of copper enamel paint and just like drop some of that in there so that it looks the same as the part on the body. And again, it's a small thing that probably not anyone's really going to notice that much, but it would have been cool, I think, because here you can actually see the little bits of copper color, whatever that is, inside of there, copper wire or whatever. But to match that color between the piping bits on the head as well too, just I think a little bit of copper enamel paint or something. Just drop a little bit in there. Could look nice as well too. But very cool. Yeah. Of course, I'm a big fan of the 8th MS team, and that scene in particular. Like I said, that episode is awesome. So always cool to see that reenacted. I mean, yeah, to stick the sword down into there and then have the oil spurt up on the goof as well too, I think would really sell this even more. So if you're willing to destroy your gun tank there a little bit to really push the diorama to like fully recreate the scene, I say go for it. I think it'll look awesome. So there's this other photo here of the diorama as well too. I should show you guys, but it looks cool here from the angle. We can't really see too much of the model, but I mean the picture looks cool. You can see the light there used for that. So yeah, those are nice. Can someone tell me what's the scale on the what am I thinking for the train models? I think it's 1:150 scale. Is that right? I don't remember. It's like O or HO, something like that. I don't know anything about train models, but it's something like that, right? It's 1:150 scale. I just remember that it's very close to 1:44 scale, so it's basically the same. Very usable for 1:44 scale dioramas. So I'm guessing that's probably what a lot of this stuff maybe is from. I don't know, the little fire hydrant it looks like there on the corner or something. All right. Thank you, Clifford. Geek Eric with a interesting comment there saying he won't destroy the gun tank this time because it'll be a love story. So it's alternate universe diorama where the Goof custom falls in love with the gun tank. Okay, I got it. And let's see, mercenary there with a or. I say that to my kids all the time. Of course, they don't have no idea what it's from. I think I've shown them. I think I've shown them like a video clip from like Halo with like the elites doing the or. So like they've seen that, but of course, classic Halo sound effects. And I love the what was it? I saw a video talking about this. Just to go off on a tangent for a minute about the Halo sound effects, where it was, which sound effect was it? It was like one of the elite sound effects is actually like it's like just the audio sound effect played backwards of like what's the guy, the actor who's like your command, like your Master Chief, but like the commander, the African American guy. I forget his name as well too. Anyway, it was like one of his voice sound effects then played backwards as what they used for one of the elite effects, sound effects. Let's see. Andy said HO is 1 to 87th scale. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Go go go. Oh, okay, yes, that's what it was. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, it was the war is go go go, distorted and backwards from Sergeant Johnson. That's what it is. Thank you. There you go. Someone's seen the same video that I've seen. Sarge. Yeah. Exactly. There you go. Sufyan Seraph, hey dude, have you moved to the US now? No. I should have maybe clarified this in the video recently. I talked about moving to the US. I'm not moving to the US until closer to the end of this year. So it's still going to be many months from now. I'm talking like 10 months from now. So it's going to be a little while until we move to the US. But let's go ahead and then move on to taking a look at James' work. I saw James was here in the chat a little bit earlier, so I'm assuming you're still hanging around, James. Take a look at your stuff here next. And John, I have your stuff here as well. We'll take a look at that as well here too in just a moment. Anyone know where to get buildings like that? John, I think anything, I think anywhere that they sell stuff for like train dioramas, basically is kind of what those are probably most commonly used for. So if you can find those. I know at USA Gundam Store, we don't sell a lot of that stuff because we don't sell like train diorama material mostly, but like HLJ, for example, has a lot of that stuff. They're kind of expensive. So, I mean, you kind of have to be, set on really wanting to do that. But, if that's what you need and, it's expensive, but if you compare like, for example, $20 for like one little building seems like a lot, but if you compare like how long it's going to take you to scratch build that yourself, it's not too bad. If it's going to take you 3 hours to scratch build, it's like $7 an hour minimum wage. So I don't know. It's not that bad compared to the time it takes to scratch build stuff like that. So it just depends on you. If you're good at that, if you can scratch build that and you enjoy scratch building it, that kind of stuff, then go for it. All right. Let's take a look at James's stuff here. So we saw this before. If you guys watched I think it was the last episode or the episode before last. When was that, James? He shared the custom build that he was doing based off of the Phoenix. He was doing like an Iron Blood Orphans, as you can see here, style design, but he was trying to make it kind of more like the Phoenix. So we gave him some feedback on that in that episode, and he's been working on that some more too. So let me just go back to what he mentioned about this in his email. James, here we go. So one thing that he was doing was stripping the paint, and then in the process of stripping the paint, some of the parts he had to replace because they got kind of messed up. He also replaced the part for the front of the chest with the different Gushin Rebake part there. Went for different shoulder armor. He said that he changed the V-fin. So originally he had his V-fin was one that was scratch built, and that was something we talked about in the episode too, just with the pieces of plot plate. And so what he opted to do instead was to 3D print something instead. So just design and 3D printed a different V-fin for that, which does look better, I think, than the plot plate one. I think still if you are liking the shape of that, James, then go for it. The shape still looks a bit simple in my opinion, though. I would maybe, I don't know, really. I mean, this is kind of the thing where you would have to. It's just a design thing, so you have to just go for however you might want to design it. But I think uh maybe changing it so that like one of the angle instead of just like three, because kind of what it looks like now is looks like kind of X-Acto blades like stacked on top of each other. So I mean, changing it so that the three parts are not all the exact size, maybe. So like making the front one maybe a little bit thinner or something, and then you have like the bigger middle one, and then like a smaller one at the top, and maybe have it be like a slightly different angle or something like that. So I'm not sure. Like if you take a look at like the Fenix's V-fin, it's kind of got a more what do I want to say? Let's see. Let me pull up an image here on Fenix. I mean, obviously, I know you're not trying to make the Fenix, but just making a kind of your own kind of take on that in a different way. But just for an example, let me pull this up here. So you can see like how for the Fenix's V-fin, the outer part, the most outer part is like a little bit wider, and the second part is kind of basically the same shape but smaller, and the third part is a little bit different in its shape. It doesn't go like quite as wide, so the shape is just slightly different, and of course it's even smaller as well too. So I think just a little bit more variation between like the parts of the V-fin, if that makes sense, I think would look a little bit nicer in my opinion. Because now with basically the three kind of blades of the V-fin all being basically like the exact same size, I think, hey, what's going on, Chris? I think that would be cool. Yes. So I mean, especially if you've got it 3D printed, if you got the file for that, it'd be something I would imagine. I don't know a whole lot about this, but I'd imagine just altering the file a little bit, and you can just print yourself out a new one. It's pretty easy, I imagine. So that I think would be good. As far as the backpack too, this was something we also talked about. He wanted to know about good advice for the backpack, and I recommended him to check out some Kotobukiya parts, and so he picked up some Kotobukiya option parts here, and just for reference, he let me know what exactly they were. So the Mecca MSG parts, the Mecca Supply 18 joint D and mechanical arms or renewal parts. So these are all just MSG option parts you can get from Kotobukiya for the option parts here for making the arm for the backpack, which definitely looks a lot better. So yeah, good job finding those parts and replacing those. Definitely before you paint this though, sand away the mold lines on that, and with that kind of intricate shape there, it's going to be a little bit of sanding there, but definitely going to want to sand those mold lines on those parts before you paint anything. But those new parts on there look a lot better. So nice meshing with the design. I think it meshes with the design of the Gushan backpack there quite well as well too. Now they're in different colors, but that really dark part and the main part of the backpack, I would definitely paint that all in the same color. So I think it's going to eventually be gold or whatever later. So that all being gold, and then the mechanical arm part basically from here up all being your gray color or whatever kind of gunmetal color whatever you're going to use for that, I think would look cool. But yeah, the main backpack and then that dark part look like those mesh together pretty well. And then these bits there from that HG IBO option set just attached onto there. So that's the other work in progress photos for this. That's just for the V-fin we saw. And that's basically that. So let me just go back, check your email here once again. James, let's see. I think that basically about covers it. So yeah, I mean, as far as the changes you made so far, that's what I think I could say about that. So yeah, he said he had to change some of the parts here too on that. So it's still very much work in progress. I mean, as you guys can see, but I think it's improving. Yeah, so the changes you've made are definitely for the better. So I'd say keep working on that, and let us know how that's going again in the next work in progress video. Next critique video, and you'll see more of your work in progress. But of course, share it in the Discord as well too, James. Let us know how that's going. The other work in progress here is a Slash Gundam, as he's calling it, using the HGCE Revive Freedom as the base here. All right, there. And let's see, it's also using the Strike Freedom for some of the parts, and also the Build Strike for the side skirts, the Dual Gundam for the backpack section, the main center backpack section, and the Strike Freedom custom kit for the issue. Strike Freedom custom? What's that? Is that a thing? I've not ever heard of that before. Acquired from Mandarake. Oh. What's that? Is it like a resin kit or something? For the head, weapons, extra parts. What is that? Strike Freedom Custom. Was that like a... What was that? Was that a different... what was that? I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use. A option set kind of thing for that? I don't remember. Anyway, the first thing that I am noticing is definitely the paint on there looks a bit rough. So I'm not sure, James, what you're using to paint with that, but definitely around the midsection there, we can see those painted parts. The paint looks a bit rough, so I don't know if the paint was maybe not thinned quite enough or how that was applied on there, but maybe see about if you can safely and easily, if you can strip that paint and maybe give that another go. I think that would definitely look a lot nicer, because in general, I think the concept, the posing could also use a little bit work here as well to show it off a little bit better. But in general, the concept, I mean, combining these parts, I think works well enough. So you want your work to look good. So I would maybe recommend having a go at trying to repaint that. Okay, James, I will do that. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. And so he said, in concept, in Gundam Seed, the Freedom and Justice Gundams are successors to the Strike and Aegis. And I wish that the Dual, Buster, and Blitz got successors as well. Okay. So in universe, the answer would be the second Freedom unit that specializes in close combat, like the Dual. Third unit would also exist that focused on firepower, like the Buster. However, those two units would not enter production in favor of the rounded, balanced Freedom Gundam. Oh, okay. Yes, so he used the single wings from the Strike Freedom and cut some plot plate to fit where the Dragoon would go, and got his two-part putty to fill in the gap. So you can see that here to change the style of the wings. So this plot plate part he's adding on there, and then you can see just filling the gap there with some putty. That works. I think what you could also do is just a piece of plot plate over the top of that. If it's just a flat surface like that, you can just cut another piece of plot plate, a thin one or something, and then just make it look like an extra armor piece of detail. Like up here at the top, you got that little kind of, what would that be? Hexagonal? Kind of that polygon shape up there. So just doing something else like that, just cutting a similar shape out of plot plate to just stick over the top of here, then you don't really need to worry about filling that all in with putty and sanding it and everything, getting it looking smooth and all that. Just stick another piece of armor over the top of that. This is another way you could go about doing that pretty simply and not having to mess around with the putty. But I think when you see the wings there on the Gundam, that the kind of bulkier shape of that does look pretty nice. So I do like that. And then the sword bits are kind of what do you call those? Mounted on the back of the arm, but mounted up here on the shoulder, they look pretty cool. And then those can be attached onto the back of the arm there like that. So those are pretty cool. I like the idea of that. It looks nice. And the colors in general, the colors are nice, James. The white and the dark blue and that orange do go together pretty well and match the idea that you were talking about being kind of like a successor to the other Gundams there. So the color scheme matches. I think that does look pretty good as well too. The head, I wonder about the design of the head. I think it would look cool because the head, I know you said it was taken from that custom kit. That it looks like it's sitting. This is a small thing, but I think it's something that I would just recommend you because I think this could definitely look very cool. The head looks like it's sitting. It's kind of big for one, and it looks like it's sitting kind of high up off the body. Maybe see what you can do to maybe do some kind of modification to drop the head down like a tiny bit, like I'm talking like 2 millimeters, maybe only just to bring the head down just a little bit into the torso, closer into the torso a little bit, getting rid of just having a little bit less neck there, I think would help to really kind of, that basically takes it from looking like this to looking like this, which, just kind of helps make it look a little bit more kind of tough. So that there's a bunch of different ways that you can do that. I did that in the HD Marcosius work in progress video. So if you want, just for reference, you can take a look back at that work in progress video to see how I did that for the Marcosius. There's a bunch of ways you can do it, ranging from simple to complicated, depending on what you want to do with the kit. But I mean, really, if you only need it to be a pretty simple modification, and you're not too worried about it, then you can do it pretty simply. Here's a look at the backside there as well too. So yeah, you can see where that putty is not really sanded there very well, because it's a little bit of like a recessed area. So I can understand how that'd be a little bit tricky to sand that area. So I think covering that up with a separate piece would be an easy way to avoid that. The painting, it looks like maybe you did some masking around here on the beam rifle that didn't come out super smooth. You got a little bit of paint. It's not very even there, the line between the blue and the white. And then just missing some panel lining. I think panel lining in some of those details as well too would help on these white areas. You can see on the white areas, like here on the back of the leg, a little bit of panel lining here and there on the white areas would also help as well too, around on these parts and the parts like on the arm. So I recommend just adding a little bit of panel lining as well. But yeah, I mean, depending on, how willing you would be at this point, because it seems like basically done, or for the most part done. But I would maybe recommend, if you're willing, giving a go at repainting that torso part there, especially as we can see, just as I can tell from the photos, that seems to be the area most noticeable where the paint is looking uneven, but anywhere else too as well. Also up here on the shoulders, this white section, this white section here, let's say, I would go all blue with that. You got like blue around the outside and then white on the inside. But I mean, just as far as the colors go, I would just go all blue with that. I think it'll look good. Just having that whole section blue, instead of the inside part of that looking white looks a bit like it was blue, and then it's just like sanded away back to white, just on the front part of there. Just because if you had that similar kind of like armor looking like that on other parts of the kit, like for example here on the front skirt, if you had like the outer edge of this part blue and then the front part white, and then had like the same thing up here on the shoulder as well too, then like maybe the same thing on like one part of the foot or something, I don't know, in more than one place on the kit, then it would make a bit more sense, I think, to have that. Maybe like here on the side of these parts here, these blue parts, have like blue around the outside, and then the top part, the main front part of that, this section here, just white. Having it in a few different areas will look better, but with it just being here on the shoulder, white on the front, and then blue around the outside looks a bit odd. So I would say either go all blue or paint it like that on other parts of the kit. Here on the side of the arm could also look cool. Just a little bit of blue around the outside of that, and then white on the top facing part of that. Yeah, James in the chat said it's all hand painted. Yeah, I understand, James. But yeah, I would see just about thinning the paints, or maybe I'm not sure about what type of paint you're using, which brand or whatever, or what type. But I'd say just thinning the paints and doing more thin coats on there, just to make sure you're getting a really nice smooth finish on that. Will look nice, I think. But yeah, we can see the background, the box in the background. It's the HGCE Freedom Gundam Custom. Yeah. It was you can see it's Hobby Japan. Yeah, it was a Hobby Japan thing, wasn't it? Let me see. I'm just curious now. HGCE Free Custom. Yeah. I remember now. Okay, yeah. So its shoulder parts are like that as well too, or someone else painted it in a similar way. Let me see here. Just pulling up the images of that. It's something. Yeah, I remember it coming out now. Now that we mentioned that, yeah. So it was this bit here where it gives you new shoulders and these new weapons to have on the backside of the arms there. And it's got the same thing, like I was just talking about on James's, where it's orange around the outside of there and then white on the front. So, I mean, on this one as well too, and honestly, it looks a bit odd on here also, just that part being like that. There's a lot more white around here, I guess. I don't know, maybe that's why it looks a bit different. Anyway, the color scheme is a little bit different. Color placement on this. You can see it's here on the front skirt as well too. Kind of not in the same place, but similarly to what I was saying. It's got the red around the outside of the front skirt there and then white on the front. So yeah, maybe doing that on other places like that could look cool. Yeah, interesting. I forgot about this. Then that came out. But there you go. All right, James. So hopefully that helps you out to get some good thoughts on that. Like I said, it seems kind of mostly done at this point, so I'm not sure how much you really want to go back and work on it. But it's some things to think about for future builds, or if you do want to go back and work on that some more. Hopefully that gives you some ideas for that. Let's go ahead and check out John's work here. John, are you still with us? Saw he was there in the chat a little bit ago. Who worked on the MadWorks resin conversion kit here for the Barbatos. I believe this is for the 1:100 scale non-grade Barbatos Lupus kit, right? If I remember correctly. So here you can see, or is this on the HG? Actually, now that I'm seeing those horrific seam lines on the arms, it just makes me think this is the HG, actually, not the 1:100 scale. But here's a work in progress where you can see what's resin and what's not. All this kind of orangish, tannish kind of color parts. It's all the resin parts. It's got new hands and like mostly new armor, except for like the arms, the chest vents, the face. So a lot of new parts on there. Of the finished model, unfortunately, we only have this photo. So it would have been nice to have some other photos of the finished model as well too, to admire that. But it looks nice. So cool resin kit there for that. Yes, and John said yes, it is the HG. But we'll just take a look at his other work in progress photos here. There it is, all primed up, work in progress, and this looks like in the priming or painting stages. Yeah, painting here. And the issue that he wanted to ask about too was also about paint coming off from your masking tape. You hate to see it, especially on resin, but it's happened. It happened to me working on the Resin God Gundam, and I had to deal with that. Yeah, it just happens. It tends to happen easier on resin just because it's just a different material. For the paints are made to stick to plastic, and resin's different, so they don't quite have that same stick. Now, of course, you can get surfacer for resin, which would work a little bit better. That is one way. But yeah, there's a couple different ways. I mean, basically, I think ultimately, no matter what you do, there's going to be a little bit of luck still in there. Basically, just kind of unlucky that for whatever reason, the weather, or you had just some dust there, or just for whatever reason, the paint, maybe when you were painting this, you didn't cover like that part of it like with as much paint or primer or whatever like you did. You went over it a couple times, but maybe this one little section of the part, you didn't give it like the same amount of paint or primer that you had on other areas of the kit, where like the coverage looked good, it looked solid as far as you could tell, but maybe it was just not quite as much on that one little part there. It's kind of hard to know exactly what the reason is. Masking tape, different brands of masking tape probably are a little bit more sticky than others. Always, the good rule of thumb is to stick your masking tape to something else first before you stick it to the model. So some people will stick it to their shirt or stick it to their cutting mat or something, or I'll often just stick it to the back of my hand. Because also there's less oil on that. Like if you stick it on the inside of your hand, obviously you're going to have more oil and stuff getting on the masking tape, and then you're putting that on your model. Not really the best idea. Sticking it on your back of your hand, probably a little bit better. But sticking it to your cutting mat would also be good, or something that you can just easily then peel it back off of, just so that you're taking away some of the tack of that. And then when you stick it to the model, it'll still be sticky enough to stick on there where you want it, but then peeling it up, less risk to peel up paint with that. The other thing that you can do is you could try using liquid mask, which is just basically just liquid latex. But especially for stuff like this where you're doing a lot of straight lines, like liquid mask is good for curved surfaces and like organic shapes and stuff. But on just the straight line surfaces like this, of course, masking tape is going to be the much easier way to go because it's just straight lines. You've got that already there with your tape. So yeah, sanding more, of course, is going to help because you're sanding the surface, making the surface a little bit more porous for the paint to have a little bit better bite onto the part. Of course, yeah, that does help. So that's why it's important to kind of sand as much as possible, especially on resin stuff. But again, you take all these precautions, it can still happen. Unfortunately, in that case, you just have to repaint it, which is what he had to do here. So there's not, there's steps that you can take to mitigate that, but at the end of the day, it could still end up happening, and you just have to kind of fix that. You hope that it doesn't. Also, I think it was Sterling was talking about in the Discord, we were talking about this before, was the way that you peel the masking tape as well too. Don't peel it. It's going to be hard to explain. My masking tape is over there. But like if this is your part, here, just go back to me. Just me. Here we go. Like this is your part surface and this is your tape on there like that. Don't peel it up and away like that, but peel it kind of all the way back and then kind of pull it along like that, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to do. Anyway, you guys get what I mean. So like peel it back so that you're pulling it kind of off in the kind of completely in like a 180-degree angle. Yes, that makes sense. And then pull it slowly, carefully. Don't do it too fast. Don't do it with too much force. It's kind of to be careful. That's really all I can say. And James, thank you so much for the super chat there. James, thanks for the feedback. What should I use to strip safely? James, to strip the paint, if you're in America, I think a lot of people use Purple Power. We don't have that here in Korea, so I just have to use isopropyl alcohol. 91% is what's generally recommended. So 91% alcohol or Purple Power if you can get your hands on that. Or, if depending on where you live and what's available, maybe also ask in different groups as well too, and like a Facebook group for your local area. Ask what other people use. So like, for example, if you are in the Philippines, this is not for James, but just for anyone. If you're in the Philippines or in Indonesia, 네? 키요?
뽁뽁이 비닐
아.
많이 좀 더 있어요? 그거 주. 네, 고맙습니다.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, depending on where you live, if there's just a Facebook group for your area, ask in the Facebook group what people use in your area for that, and that would be good. But James, UK. Yeah, I'm not sure. Ask Simon. If you know Gundam UK, Simon, great guy, one of the other members of Gunpla Talk. May it rest in peace. Gunpla Talk we haven't had for a while, but yeah, get in touch with Simon. Send him a message and ask what he uses or what he would recommend. He would know. And he might even have something. He has his own shop as well too. I don't think he sells anything like that. Mostly just option parts and things like that, detail parts. But get in touch with Simon. Or also you have Armor of God Gunpla there as well too. Joey, the owner of that shop, online shop, he might also have any products or recommendations. Something. Those are just two people that I know offhand. Otherwise, I'm sure there's other people. Richard as well too. Richard Flanagan, if you know him, he's around on different Facebook groups and stuff as well too. So get in touch with him. I know he's in the UK as well too. Model Making Guru, yeah, that's another good one, of course, as well too. Good one there. Detol is used in the UK according to Model Making Guru. There you go. So Detol, yeah, a lot of different products that I'm sure you can use. Essentially, what you need is just like an industrial strength degreaser. is I think again essentially what you like what purple power is, for example. And I'm guessing maybe detail is something similar, but yep, that should work for you. It's kind of hard to recommend the product that I use because the thing that I use is a Korean product, and none of you guys would have access to it outside of Korea. A quick Google search leads me to elbow grease. Paxev said, "Yeah, alternatively, just sanding the paint off. But I mean, if you're working in James, like your HG kit, obviously you can't sand all that paint off or anything. So you wanted to dip it in something else." And good night, James. Thanks for your submission, of course. Thanks for the super chat and hanging out and just being a supporter. So yeah, James, definitely do let us know how that's progressing in the next episode. All right, now we'll take a look here at the next one. This is from Royce, aka the Ambassador, with this kit, and I need to refresh my memory what this mobile suit is called. I don't remember off the top of my head. See, it is Reconquista and G. What was it? Ah, yes, the Gaon. Yes. So he was looking for some feedback just on this build. And I mean, my first impression is that it looks great. And the other thing that I just wanted to say about this is that I appreciate someone taking the time and effort to, take on a Reconquista and G kit, because they're not easy kits to work on. Just seam lines all over the place. Lots of color correcting masking to be done on that, because there's a lot of little color apps and stuff that are not represented well in the model kits. I mean, take up the challenge. Obviously deserves some praise just for that alone. T-Reco kits, not the best, but I think he did a good job on this. It does look quite nice. Yeah, this seam line on the arm there doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I don't know how I would have gone with that if I would have tried to get rid of that or not. I probably would have tried to get rid of that seam line on there. But I honestly don't think that it looks that bad. Just with the design in general, I think it's not exactly like sticking out like, whoa, that looks wrong. You got that like here on the thigh as well too. And then this one, it's kind of hard to tell, but I think that's maybe on the top of the calf part there. It's also a seam line, or I'm not sure if that's a seam line or a detail. I can't really tell, but none of those really bothering me too much about this, really, to be honest. The colors look fantastic. They look really nice. The posing, I mean, I can tell you're doing your best with the posing with this. That's, again, with these kits, the posing them is not that great. But I think it looks pretty good. It's about as good as you can do with these kits, just straight out the box. As far as I know, I don't think he did much in the way of like modification to the kit, really, except some seam line removal. I would imagine that he did do some seam line removal on this, because, like I said, these kits tend to have a lot of seams on them. So let's see, it's kind of hard to tell in the photos, but I assume like there was probably seams on the top of the shoulders as well too, around the head. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but it does look nice. And then let's see, Andy saying a nice subtle shading. Yeah. Like the painting on it looks great. Definitely. I mean, just the painting of it, yeah, looks really nice. So the colors, the paint application, all that's good. The little bits of green, I'm not sure if those are actually the included foil stickers, which, I mean, if so, why not? Go for it. I think they look good. Something that I talked about in my one-day build recently, the Rezel here, I used the foil stickers for all the little red camera bits on that. And I think, like I said, if you can get them on there and they look good, then, no hate. People tend to just like, if you're a real modeler, really, you don't use the stickers, included stickers. But no, like, why not? If they look good, if you can make it look good, go for it. Especially for cameras and stuff. Like for color apps, yeah, maybe not. for like if you had like, for example, a black sticker for the inside of this vent here, and so yeah, I wouldn't use that because you can very easily just paint that in black. It's not really a big deal. But like for your foil stickers for your cameras and stuff, I say, why not? There's a lot of other different ways that you can go about cameras, not using the foil stickers. So if that works better for you, then do that. If the foil stickers look good, then do that. Whatever works. But I think it looks nice. Yeah, it looks good. Not really too much else that I could say. I mean, that you could do with it. I mean, if you really wanted to push it more, maybe could have added a little bit more detail in certain areas, like here on the shoulder, just like a little bit of scribing with like just adding kind of your little kind of latch details on some of these bits might have looked cool. But I mean, if you were just going for, just taking the base kit and not really doing a ton of modification on it necessarily, but just making it look good, then I think it's a success. Looks like still you can see some of the seam line here on the rifle as well too. So just like maybe seam line removal in general, maybe you didn't do very much of it on this kit. It looks like that one I definitely would have removed. Some of the ones on the body, like I said earlier, are kind of, I think you could go kind of either way with it. The one on the rifle though, like I definitely would have tried to get rid of that one, for example, but I'm not sure. It looks like here on the bottom, I'd have to look at the parts to see how this is made. Maybe it's that this part of the rifle is one solid piece, but I don't think so. I imagine this beam rifle is just two pieces slapped together and that's it, because that's kind of how it goes with these Reconquista and G kits. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's all there is to it, just the two parts. So I mean, it looks like he sanded that a little bit to remove the seam line there. I'm not sure if that's on the very bottom of the gun, underside of the handle of there, if that's like a nub mark that's not totally sanded or not. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't. Everything else looks sanded and well, as far as I can tell. So I'm assuming that's not a nub mark there, but it's kind of hard to see in this photo. But yeah. Stickers can be used as good masking tape too. Yes, of course. Yes, that's the other thing. See, so another good point there as well. So yeah, looks nice. Like I said, props for taking up the challenge. I want to paint a Reconquista and G kit, and probably the one that would be, I think it's like one of the, I've reviewed a couple of different Reconquista and G kits, but I think the only ones that I still have in my possession are the Gastima and the Perfect Pack G Self. And the Gastima, I think, is probably one of the best, if not the best kit in the line. Oh, I got the assault armor, the like a big kind of like mobile armor kind of add-on for the G Self as well too. That's a cool kit also, I think. But the Gastima I would like to work on. I'm going to try to work on that sometime in the future. I know I have like lots of work in progress that's going on, but I want to work on that actually. Yeah, the Gastima. It's a cool kit. Definitely one of the better ones. Jeff, you're coming in. Guess this is almost over. Story of your life. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, we're almost done. I think we have just Andy left to do now. So let me go ahead and pull up his here. Let me see. All right. So I think I should just be able to pull them up in this window here, Andy. So let me go here and close that. And let me also just pull up your email. I think basically though, Andy's working on the Mega Size Unicorn kit. And the Mega Size Unicorn, if you guys were unaware, is in destroy mode and it's not transformable, but he's making it into unicorn mode. And so what he's doing for that is using the 1/48 scale, which is fortunately the same scale as Mega Size. The head bust model, which I think I've got it over there, but it's under a bunch of stuff. I can't get it to it very easily, but it was one of those head bust models, kind of like this one here for the G Self. One of these. It's like these magazine pack-in kits where it's just the head bust and a little stand so you can put your HG kit up on top of that. There's one like that they made for the Unicorn. And they made one for the Banshee as well too, and the Shinanju, and they're very cool. So that is transformable, right? Yes, there was a unicorn mode. Was it just that there was a unicorn mode and a destroy mode one? Now I don't remember. Or was it transformable? I don't think it was transformable. What? Anyway, Jeff is also working on one. They said, oh, and I want to work on one too. It's just I haven't found the time. Let's see. You should have additional images from the HG Network. I just replied and see me watching. Oh, okay. So here, because I haven't pulled up Andy's pictures yet. So Royce, thanks for the feedback. You're welcome, Royce. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's not necessary, but I appreciate that. Sorry, Andy, before we get to yours, let me just also pull up. Let's see. John said he sent a few more images of, let's see. It's not this one, right? Hang on. Sorry. He did. He sent okay, sorry. Okay. Sorry, John. I don't know why I didn't see that. Okay, so John sent a lot more photos here of his barber toast and then another build. So hang on. Go back to taking a look at John's work here for a moment before we get to Andy's. Sorry I didn't see the other emails there in the email chain. Here, let's take a look at these first. So, okay, the head base is transformable. Okay, that's good. All right, I couldn't remember when we were there. So let me pull this back up again. Here we are. Okay, so back to the barber toast we were taking a look at before. We got some more photos of just the finished kit here, so you can see that. Still, the photography in general is a bit dark, unfortunately, here in the foreground, so it's kind of hard to see, but still, very cool kit. The toes look a bit odd how they're like kind of painted up. I don't know if pointed up, not painted up, painted up, yes, but also pointed up. I don't know how you can adjust that. I think probably with the resin parts on there, maybe it's a little bit finicky, so it's kind of hard to get them to stay down possibly. So maybe you were having some trouble with that while posing the kit, but I don't know what you would have to do with that. Add a little bit of glue to tighten the joint to keep that part flat, maybe, but if you wanted to take some more photos, see what you can do about making sure those toes are down on the ground. But the color, the yellow especially, I mean, the paints all look really nice. The color of the yellow looks nice as well too, because it's got that little bit kind of orangish hint to it. So I'm not sure what color you used on there, John. Maybe you can let us know. But it looks very similar to like the character yellow that I often use for mine. And then that you can add different things to it, but it's kind of already slightly orangish yellow color. And you can kind of make that to like this, where he's got it going out to like a little bit more orange towards the tip there. So nice gradient on that. And it looks like, I suppose it is probably the same color. The yellow in the vents, I don't know, in this photo, like it looks like on the front skirts, the yellow looks slightly different, but I don't know if it is necessarily or not. It looks a little bit more just kind of straight up yellow compared to the more orange yellow on the other parts. Even the chest vents and the shoulder parts all look more in the orange yellow. It's just kind of just like the front skirt parts that look slightly different in the color yellow. It could just be the lighting or something. Let's see. John also said, my first time pinning it and did not do a good job. So I mean, the feet parts maybe you're talking about there, about pinning those parts. Anyway, yeah, I mean, pinning is something. It's actually something that I want to cover in a video here in the very near future, probably sometime in the next couple weeks. I'll talk about pinning resin. I'm certainly no expert at it either, but I mean, I'll just give you guys my 2 cents on that as well too in a video. But that looks pretty nice. It looks like a little bit of bleed from the masking of this part. It looks like probably masked and painted this red part there. The red looks also, just as far as the color, the red looks nice, but you can see maybe a little bit of red came through the masking tape on that there, unfortunately. But fortunately, it's kind of like not on like the front of the kit, so it's not that noticeable. But just maybe masking off that red part and then just hitting this with just a little bit more white paint, so that not necessarily worried about like covering it up entirely, adding a bunch more paint on that, but just like one other little bit of paint on there can maybe just tone down that red a bit, so there's just like less noticeable. But again, it's a tiny little bit on like the kind of back side of the model, so it's not going to be that noticeable anyway. But yeah, the colors do look nice on that dark blue and the multiple tones of white. I like that I think it is two-tone white, and there's like a light gray and white. They look good because they're not too stark in their contrast. You know, they're not too different. If you're going to be using like two-tone colors, you can't go too different with them. They need to be pretty close, almost like indistinguishably close. You know, he's got it so that you can tell the difference between the two tones, the white and the off-white gray. It's a good color choices for that. So color choices look good. I mean, as far as like the general modeling, I mean, like it looks good. I'm not seeing any mold lines, or obviously you don't like have nub marks, as they're called, but like gates from the resin parts as well too. So I mean, everything looks prepped and painted pretty well. You had a little bit of trouble with some of the masking, but I think, you know, it's pretty well done. So different yellow. He said it's a mix of yellow and character yellow for Mr. Color. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, telling you guys that character yellow is too good. No, you'll never want to use plain yellow again. You just got that nice character yellow with just a little bit of orange coloration to it. So very nice. Okay, let's see. He did send some more too as well too. Hang on, just toss those, and not that. Here it is. He's also working on a Sazabi in candy blue, using Alclad, Mr. Color, and 2K gloss coat. So let's take a look at his candy blue Sazabi work in progress photos here. Let me grab these photos. Okay. With these, is it raining? I don't think so. I'm hearing like some water dripping outside. I think it's just like a pipe or something, but it's making me think that's raining. Let's see, not that. This one here. Here we go. So it seems he's just in the midst of painting this. So there's not too much to see at the moment. We can see theirs with that. I'm guessing this is Alclad chrome on there. It looks like that's gray primer, and then gloss black, and then your chrome, and then I'm guessing it's just clear blue then over the chrome. So if you guys don't know how to do candy painting, there's a good tutorial for you. Very simple. Primer, which in all honesty, you don't necessarily need primer if you just do gloss black straight over the top of that. But you know, yeah, if you want to be thorough about it, yes, use primer. And then this just, I'm trying to check which kit of the Sazabi this is. This would be the RG Sazabi. Is that correct, John? I mean, it looks like it's the RG, as far as I can tell. Not the is it the MG? Maybe it is the MG. MG Verka. Maybe it is. Could be wrong about that. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, you just primer. Recommended, not necessary for candy coat, but importantly, what you need is gloss black, chrome or silver, and then a clear color over the top of that, so clear blue. It looks nice. It does look really good. I think it's going to look good once it's all done. So this is all we have at the moment of this, but definitely looking forward to seeing John in the next episode. Please make sure you send some photos of the finished product of this so we can see how it turns out. But I think that's going to look quite nice. Because it's like a nice, I mean, it could just be the lighting as well too, but it's like a nice deep blue as well too. It's not like a bright blue. So I think it's going to look pretty cool. Definitely. It's looking good. So looking forward to seeing some more of that. And let's see, we have one more here as well too. Emails here. And also his Dynamis here, airbrush with Mr. Color and Gaia Notes. Okay, so yes, his MG Dynamis. We'll take a look at these. I'll just grab these photos for you guys. In blue. It's always nice to see kind of Dynamis. We, of course, typically it's in its usual green color. So it's always nice to see a little bit different color scheme. Get these open. Have a look. There we go. All right. Blue Dynamis. Here you go. Yeah, the other thing too, I mean, John, you've got the white backdrop there, but I'm not sure what you're using for lighting, but having some sort of light on the front as well too will help just to make sure that we can see the builds a little bit better. Without them being very well lit from the front, it's kind of hard to see with the Barbatos as well too. Alternatively, going outside, taking them outside, getting some nice outdoor photography if you can. I'm not sure what the weather's like there, but if you can go outside for a little bit on a good kind of slightly sunny, a little bit overcast day, it's kind of the best. So you're not getting that harsh sunlight, but still some good even lighting. Look pretty nice. But here is the blue Dynamis. The blue looks nice. Again, I like that color, and I like the kind of light lavender color as like a secondary tone. Really reminds me of the the HG The Origin Gym Guards type kit that was like white and blue like that. It's like exactly this kind of color scheme, right? So really dig the colors. It's definitely got, I mean, the white and the blue is a pretty, it's not dark blue, but it's a pretty deep, like very rich, deep blue. It's not a light blue by any means. So, I mean, it's a pretty stark contrast, especially with the dark gray as well too. So it's a very contrasty kit, especially like here on the inside of the shields there. How you have like the dark blue, white, dark gray, white, dark blue, white, dark gray, white. I maybe would have done the inside part of the shield, that white part, in like a kind of secondary tone of gray, like a lighter gray. It looks like you do have two tones of gray in here as well too. You can see there's a lighter gray and a darker gray. So maybe would have done the inside of the shield in the lighter gray color. I think because the contrast on the suit itself, I mean, the main Gundam body looks pretty good. Doesn't really bother me too much. Just on the inside of the back of the shield, with that being in white, it's a bit contrasty, a bit too high contrast for my taste. I think maybe doing that in a lighter gray would have been the way that I maybe would have gone with that. But as far as the color choices themselves, I think they look great. I love the teal accents on there as well too. Those are really nice. Little bits of teal just here and there. There's not a lot, just a couple little bits here and there is all you need for that. And the same thing with the light lavender as well too, which I think is basically replacing all the parts which would have been originally yellow on the kit, right? Are now in that light lavender color. So the color choices, the paint application, all look good. Decal work also looks pretty good as well here too. You can see all the decals. I'm guessing those are maybe because I don't think Bandai made a decal set for this, but I think he said it's Mr. Color Bright Blue. Yeah. I don't think Mr. Color Bandai did, but I think other suppliers were pretty quick to put out a water slide decal version of the decal sheets for this. So guessing that's what you used for that. And so the decals look pretty good on there. Looks like basically, as far as I can tell, as far as I can remember, it's just a kind of rework of the included sticker sheet as waterside decals, basically. I would have used a few more waterside decals, just like some generic caution markings, some small ones, just on some little bits here and there. I think could have looked nice, like on the front skirts next to like these opening parts there, or something like here on the shield. A couple more little ones there. Again, that's just subjective, personal taste. How many or how few decals you want to use on a kit? This is up to you. Or especially like here on the inside of the shield could look cool as well too. So think that would look nice. But yeah, and you can see some of the details here he added, which those look like they're the, I think, DUA are the option, are those kind of 3D printed, 3D resin printed option parts, I believe is what those are, right? And he said the decals are from Delphi Decals. Yeah. I'm sure Delphi Decals probably made those. I'm sure Simp Simp Pro probably made the decal set for this as well too, I'd imagine, off the top of my head. Yeah, those add-on like option parts here just to add some detail, like this little vent detail you added to the back of the foot there, and this little bit there on like the back of the ankle armor, and then adding some detail like this heat sink part and this little detail part added onto the back skirt part there. I believe those are like those DUA option says, right? He said he didn't use all because they were a nightmare. So I'm guessing, yeah, the decals were a nightmare. You mean, John? The quality of them was not that good. There's a bit of a delay between the chat and me, so sorry about that. But yeah, those just a couple of detail parts added to that look quite nice as well too. Just to change it, ever so slightly from the stock kit. You can see, where is it here on the back, how those look painted up like that on the back skirt there. So those look pretty nice. Yeah, very cool. To do the caution markings like for the Verka or the RG have actual text that makes sense. I've never zoomed into them and read them. Likonski asking about those. It depends. Yeah, most time Bandai decals you really can't read anything except like it'll say like caution big, and there'll be text underneath there, but you can't read it. It's not legible at all. On the Mecca decals, the Child of Mecca decals that we sell at USA Gundam Store, those ones you can actually read the tiny text on them. The 1/100 scale version, the 1/144 scale versions, I think Tim would probably tell you that you can read that. I'm not sure. I'd have to check, like with a magnifying glass. It's super tiny, but they are super fine. Bandai's decals, unfortunately, are not quite the best. They're not the best decals that you can get. Haikyuu are kind of better, and then the Mecca decals really are probably the best printing quality that I've seen. Let's see. Where do you suggest getting official waterslide decals? I mean, getting official Bandai waterslide decals anywhere, like honestly, the best place to get them would be at a Gundam base. Is probably the place where they stock them the most. But outside of being able to go to an actual Gundam base location in Japan or Korea or somewhere, yeah, getting them online is just kind of hit and miss. Because anytime that Bandai reproduces some decals, they usually sell out really quick. They don't produce them that much, and they don't produce them that often. So you kind of just have to get lucky. You can find stuff around, especially like for some of the less popular suits. You can probably find them a little bit easier around in different places. Like, I don't know, if you were looking for decals for the MG gun cannon or something like that, probably could find those easier than a decal set for the Shinanju or Strike Freedom or something. I don't know. All right, so lastly, let's go back to Andy's work here. So like we were talking about, he's taking the Mega Size Unicorn kit and converting it into Unicorn mode using the head bust model, which is transformable, which he cleared up for us. So yes, here you can see, I'm guessing this is the head of the Mega Size kit there. Sorry. The head of the Mega Size kit there, and then the new Unicorn mode head from the head bust model. So here you can see some work in progress with the original skirts here with the cycle frame, and the modified ones basically having it closed up in Unicorn mode where you're not seeing any of the cycle frame anymore. So yeah, man, seeing this again, Andy, is just making me really want to do this project. So Andy and then Jeff, they said there in the chat that Jeff's also working on one of these. I really want to do one as well too. I want to do one to make it a Banshee, because I have one of the Banshee head busts as well too. They need Bandai to make a mega size Banshee Norn, so that I can have the backpack and the revolving launcher as well too. That'd be nice. But anyway, yeah, thinking about it, I'm looking at that thinking like, that doesn't look too bad. It looks easy enough. But without having actually done it myself, I don't know exactly how complicated it is. I mean, but it basically seems like you're taking this armor panel and just kind of probably taking out the cycle frame part and just kind of gluing the armor panel back down to there. It just seems like kind of a lot of cutting stuff up and gluing stuff back together to basically move the armor panels back without them actually moving back in a way that the kit is transforming, but you're actually just cutting it apart and just resticking it back on so that it looks like it's closed up. And the shield, the closed up shield, so that one as well too. That's obviously the master grade shield there. It looks like that it's compared to, but you guys get the idea. That looks great. So that one as well too, you'd have to cut and take those parts, and you would need to keep the psycho frame parts because those are still visible even in unicorn mode. They're just on the back of the shield, so you have to keep those. So you have to just basically modify that in a way so that those are folded up and stuck there on the back. Oh, here we go. You can see the back side of that now. That looks great. Yeah, looks nice. So again, I'm assuming maybe not the most complicated thing. Banshee. Oh, Jeff said Jeff's doing the Banshee. Nice. There's a lot of problem solving. Just here, Andy's here in the chat, backstepped. He said there's a lot of problem solving in there that I did. So you can skip all the hard work. Nice. I will. Hopefully it's something that I can get to here maybe in the next couple months. Be something, yeah, I'd like to do. But yeah, it's looking very good. And here you can see just kind of work in progress so far. The head and the skirt parts and the shield done so far. The backpack here, I think Andy, I remember you saying at one point too that like you're doing like the easiest parts first and then kind of making your way towards the more complicated parts as you went along, which makes sense. I don't blame you there. So the backpack, which would basically just be like being able to close up the side panels and being able to cut and fold down the beam saber handle connection bits, which I don't remember exactly how those go together, but I think this whole gray section was like all one solid piece. Like other versions of the kit where it transforms, it's two pieces that you can turn it. But if I remember correctly on the mega size, it's just one solid piece. So you probably had to cut that apart, right? Or am I wrong about that? But let's see. All right, so here it is. The thigh armor now closed up as well too. So there you go. That's all closed. And it looks like at this point, Andy, did you also bring the torso section closed down as well too? Because there's a little bit of psycho frame there in the middle of the stomach section there. It looks like that's dropped down to be closed up as well there also. So this whole kind of middle section now all transformed. Yeah, the knees will be hardest. Yeah, I think the knees, yeah, definitely going to be probably the most complicated part, I'd imagine, yeah. All right, then there's the backpack. You can see all that transformed now. The knees and like the shoulders, the chest, definitely be more complicated. So here it is. Speaking of the knees, there's a look at that. It looks like I'm not seeing the full photograph. Let's see. Is that cut off? Or no, that is the bottom of that. Okay. Didn't know if I was just like zooming in. If there's more on the bottom, it looks like there's more photo on the bottom, but I was just like I was trying to scroll down. I couldn't scroll down. But there you go. Yeah, it looks great. All that closed up there. You'd never be able to tell that it wasn't like that from the start. Looks very good. So there you go. Compared, opened and closed. Looks very nice. It makes you wonder why Bandai never made a unicorn mode. with mega size, or a Banshee mega size, or any other mega size other than just the standard destroy mode unicorn. Sad, very sad indeed. On the shoulder there as well too. That looks good. I'll close it. Is there a comparison? Open and closed versions so we can see compared to each other? No. Okay. Anyway, let's just go back to this photo. Where was the one we could see more of the shoulders? Anyway, opened up like that versus closed. Yeah. Looks very good. So the knees aren't too bad. That's good. Shoulders were a pain. All right. Yeah. There's working on the torso then. So to get these chest panels to cover up that section maybe seems a bit of a chore because they'd be folded down. You would have to cut out a lot of that and cut out a lot of the interior of the psycho frame part to get the sides of the torso need to close up like that as well too. So I remember seeing Andy some other work in progress photos he posted of that, cutting the inside of that because you still need the shoulder joint for the arms to be able to plug into the torso, but you need to basically cut that part off the frame on the inside of there. In the back side. And okay, so there we go. Just a look at that, how that's looking. Almost done. Just got basically like a little bit of the chest to finish, the arms, the lower part of the legs. The feet are there done now as well too, basically. And here now the arms are done. So some tape holding it together. Andy, no, what I'm wondering, because what I'm thinking of, like when I'm planning on doing this, for example, the arms, like this lower arm section here, is basically kind of all, I mean, when you cut out the psycho frame parts on the inside or whatever, and then putting all the white parts back together, I mean, can you not just basically just glue them all together as like one big solid piece? Like you have some tape like holding them together as if these parts are not all just glued together, but they're all just going to be white when you go to paint it anyway. So are you keeping them as separate parts just so that you're not painting like one big solid chunk, but so you can paint the separate parts individually? But I mean, if it were me and this is all going to be white, I would just glue everything and then just paint it all as one big section. It's kind of a big chunk of plastic you got to paint, but is that not the case? Had to completely cut out the shoulder pegs, mounts, and use a lot of putty to secure them back in. Talking about the shoulder. But that's what I'm thinking about this. Why in my mind it doesn't seem like it's that complicated, because on any of these sections, like the knee, for example, too, where it's just all white, and as long as you got everything cut and you can just glue it back together, I would just glue it all as just one big section of the kit. Because what the psycho frame, and a lot of these parts, what the psycho frame is acting as like the part that you're plugging the armor pieces onto. So if you remove the psycho frame, then you don't have anything to plug the armor pieces onto. But if the armor pieces are just all glued to each other, then you got it. I mean, it'll stay together how you need it. But basically, as long as you still have some connection piece, so like for the shoulder armor, as long as it still connects onto the body where it needs to, then anything else in there that's like holding the shoulder armor together, you don't necessarily need in there, as long as everything's still held together and it doesn't look like it's this big hollow. If you can't see, like a just big hollow space inside there. Yeah, I said definitely going to glue it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, without doing it myself yet, I'm just only kind of thinking of imagining how easy or difficult it might be at this point, without getting in there, get my hands dirty on it. But it's something I'm definitely looking forward to working on. So here you can see this is the last image we have so far, where it's almost there. So Andy, I know you've been kind of going back and forth on this project, but I hope you'll go ahead and get it finished, because I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out, man, to seeing it painted and everything. You have any special plans on like how you're planning on painting it? Are you just gonna do like just straight up white, or are you gonna do like some pre-shading or painting it in a different color or anything like that? Jeff said most of my arms are held together without glue. There you go. Yeah, I imagine probably for me, I'll end up just gluing a lot of stuff together. It's just out of laziness, but yeah, very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that being done. So yeah, Andy, like I said, there's a delay in the chat, so it's gonna take a minute before I can get the response. But what's your plans for painting that? Get it look pretty nice. I mean, as much as I'm looking forward to working on this project, I can't say that I'm necessarily looking forward to painting this kit again, because I've painted a mega size unicorn kit before, just the regular Destroym, which is a regular one in Destroyma. It's just so much paint required. I went through like 5 bottles of white paint to paint that thing, and then painting the MGEX unicorn more recently. And so I don't know how excited I am to paint another unicorn kit, but at least doing the modifications is going to be fun. Ankles. Tristan asking, are you keeping your HD Pluton? Yes, I love that HD kit. I'm not painting anytime soon, but yes, I am keeping the HD Pluton. Andy said, I'm thinking of doing a warm white in a few tones. Well, very cool. I definitely, as I've painted both my mega size and the MGEX in a warm white, I certainly approve of that. Doing a kind of warm, kind of creamish white. It just seems like more towards the Katoki, let's see, artwork of that. It just kind of always seemed more appropriate and like kind of a creamish kind of color. And so it was not the best image here, but it's not straight up white. Why am I just getting like, oh, it's not low res, it's just not rendered, or just not showing the full quality image there. But yeah, warm white always just seemed like better for the unicorn. I guess this one's like in white, regular white, but yeah, definitely myself as well too. I prefer it in just warmer white color. So Andy, finish that, and you've got 1 month, or just till whenever, maybe give or take, until the next Gunpla critique episode. So you've got until then to finish that. Oh, and I'm sorry, John. Dang. I keep having to go back to John's work. Hopefully, John, if you're still around, sorry about this. We'll just bounce back to John's work real quick. With his Dynamace, he had this base. We didn't take a look at this when we looked at his images of the Dynamace. Get this blue Dynamace. This is the base that he did for that as well too. Sorry, forgot to look at this image before. Just now remembering. Here's his base, which is just a action base 4 or 5, which is the 5, I think, for 144 scale. But yeah, you can use it for 100 scale models. I use it for 100 scale models very often in my reviews and stuff. Just with some Pentaline scribed on there and just painted up. Looking pretty nice, just for a nice simple base. Yeah, looks good. So sorry, I forgot to show that to you guys earlier. But there you go. All right, guys. So there you go. That's it for today's episode. Thanks to, of course, the guys that submitted their work. Thank you so much for your support and for submitting stuff for us to take a look at today. And like I said, we'll try to do these episodes every month. I was actually planning on doing this episode at the end of December. This was supposed to be a December episode, but Christmas and holidays, vacation stuff. Obviously, I didn't take a vacation, but my kids were on vacation from their school. So like last week, I was with the kids a lot. So it's been kind of busy season, of course. So apologies for the delay for this episode, but we'll do another episode sometime within the next month as well too. So again, if you guys are interested in submitting stuff for any future episodes, you can check out my Patreon page. It's just Zac Aurelius on Patreon. So again, thank you to everyone there who's a supporter. Not everyone submitted their works this time, obviously, but yeah, thank you to you guys who did. And until next time, guys. Actually, let me let you know here before we wrap up today. My plan tomorrow, I'll be live again, and then Wednesday as well too. So basically the same time for the next 2 days. I'll also be live tomorrow. I'll be live building the 2 HG kits that you guys voted on, and the backlog massacre that's taking place. You guys, I keep seeing the vote total keeps bouncing between the Equus type Jagan and the Gym Cannon 2. But the two kits that I'm going to be building tomorrow, I'll be building the HGUC Easy 8 and the Gym Cannon 2. So the two Jagan kits I've already got built up, and I'll just review those. But I'll live build the Easy 8 and the Gym Cannon 2 for you guys tomorrow. And then Wednesday, I'll be live with Josh for a new episode of Plamo No Trend. So we'll be doing that. So same time for the next 2 days. We'll also be live doing some other fun stuff. So I'll see you guys then. And I'll also be working on the best and worst of 2020 video as well too for you guys. That'll be out, like I said, by the end of this week, hopefully. So, all right. Till then, guys, have a great day. See you guys later. Bye-bye.